Good morning. Welcome to Ramblings with Joe. I had a rough night. I did not sleep well. So this morning I was awake at 1 o'clock and I was having a little chat with Grok. And in an episode earlier, I said that we were at 60% for the belief that the federal government has been shut down by the Democrats. And it is not 60%. And Grok has changed its tune and now says it is 50%. Well, I'm guilty of not checking my sources with the AI. And the truth is, we are almost split down the middle. I still believe, and it is still a fact, that the Democrats have voted 11 times to keep the government shut down because they want the ACA to be funded. I think they want it funded permanently, which is kind of strange because they didn't vote to have it funded permanently before. I have people in my life that use the ACA and actually save money because of the ACA. The problem's not that we didn't fund the ACA. The problem is government's involvement in medical insurance. When you allow government to dip their tentacles into the private sector, everything is always more expensive. Not a single time has the government been able to drive down the cost of anything. And this is just something that has been proven over and over again. Bureaucracy requires lots of money. It's just as simple as that. Bureaucracy is a money eater. They will always be a money eater. And the way to save money is to reduce bureaucracy. I think that's what Doge had in mind initially. The ability to save money by reducing the size of the bureaucracy, by doing away with programs and aspects of the program that include extra employees. I mean, because that's always the number one expense of any business, and the business of government is not excluded from that. It's really strange to me that the left is getting away with convincing half of the people in America, according to recent polls, half of the people in America, that they're not responsible for the government shutdown. Grok is very quick to point out that this is a partial shutdown. And okay, I will say it's a partial shutdown. I think it's 23% of what they call non-essential employees are not at work right now. The downside of this is it just costs more money to continue the shutdown than it would to not be shut down. However, if President Trump has his way and these people are laid off permanently, they won't be repaid that money. Of course, there are lawsuits trying to stop that by the unions. The number one job of a union is to make sure that their employees, their members, are paid as much as possible. But the shutdown itself, I don't have a problem with it, other than it costs us more money. If Trump is successful in laying off and actually firing these people, I don't know what word to use there, because if it's layoff, that I see in the private sector, when you lay off your workforce, that kind of says they may come back. As a matter of fact, they had a layoff at a company when I was a younger man, and in my hometown, and they would actually work with the unemployment office, and the unemployment office would come to the workplace and help set up everybody's unemployment for the expected layoff period. And the employees, I never did participate. It's not something that I'm proud of. It's just something that I chose not to participate in. I've never once taken unemployment. So I've always been able to find a job immediately. And any job that I had that felt the necessity to lay me off and not pay me for more than a week, I just left that job and found a job that paid. I think that that's probably the best thing to do. If you get laid off, if you are, in government terms, furloughed, then you need to find some place that won't lay you off and take away your livelihood. The word furlough is a really strange thing. You can be sent home. You're not paid. This is all government now. And as soon as they figure out how to get the funds back rolling, they bring you back in and give you all of your back pay. So essentially, you have a forced vacation. Now, I get it. You're not getting paid. That money's not coming in. But as a government employee, you probably should be saving, a month or so of salary so that you have that money on hand. I don't agree with any of that. If you're not doing the work, there should be no pay. I think maybe unemployment, just like in the private sector. And anything that you're paid beyond the work you give, wow, that's something that the private sector would never put up with. You don't get paid if you don't put out. That's pretty simple. So the shutdown is caused by the Democrats. I mean, they're saying no, the shutdown's caused by the Republicans because they won't come to the negotiation table for the Affordable Care Act. Okay. I mean, you can say that, but let's be honest. What you're doing is you're holding hostage the government, the partial shutdown of the government, because you want the Affordable Care Act included in that continuing resolution. So the shutdown is what it is. And we can't do a thing about it because the Democrats will not vote to open the government back up. The Republicans have voted 11 times for a clean continuing resolution. Open the government. The Democrats have voted 11 times to keep the government shut by voting no for the continuing resolution. It's that simple. They want Obamacare funded. And they didn't win the election. And as Senator Fetterman has said over and over again, if you want your agenda put through, win elections. Why didn't you win the elections? Because you put out horrible candidates. Your first candidate was so horrible that he had to step aside, and you didn't even have a primary for the candidate that you put in. So the party of democracy appointed a candidate, and the candidate was so awful that Trump won. Your candidate was so bad that the American people preferred Trump. That's pretty point blank. And as was shown during the No Kings March, No Kings demonstration, the No Kings silliness, yeah, you have very few people who are willing to actually vote for your candidate. And the amount of people who did vote for your candidate was less than the amount of people who voted for Trump. And you lost. And now, if what you're saying is true, it is not, in my opinion, then there are people who are going to suffer because you couldn't put forth a good enough candidate. I don't believe that. My thoughts are that get government out of the medical situation and the prices will go down. There's the problem. The problem is not Obamacare. The problem is that Obamacare exists, that the federal government exists inside of the medical institutions of America. Ugh. I've been pondering a little something recently. Word gets out. Now, back in Back in my youthful days, we called that rumors. There were always rumors, scuttlebutt, uh, discussions around the water fountain or whatever it was called. This is even more what is happening now. Word gets out. And it gets out about everything. It gets out about the most local of political levels, like an HOA, all the way up to the highest of political levels, like the president and his executive branch, and the congressional branch, and the judicial branch. There's always a leak. Word gets out. You can't keep secrets anymore. And I'm glad. I'm happy about that. The ability to have an open and transparent institution will bring us more freedom and more liberty. And for that, I am thankful. The downside for that is the ability for people to put out false narratives so easily. I have read so many articles that have spun the news, and then at the very end of it, it will put the actual facts. And I believe they do that because they understand that the people of America aren't going to read the whole article, that there is a vast majority of people who just read headlines and take that as fact. That's quite possibly the worst, the absolute worst way to take in the news, because a headline is specifically designed for you for it to catch your attention. But now it's the reader's responsibility to go further into depth and read more. Word gets out. That's great. Crappy word gets out too. That's not so great. But that's the responsibility of us, the consumers of the news, to kind of figure out. And the main media, the legacy media, is now paying the price for all the spin that they have done. One of the things that I noticed about this March of No Kings, or No Kings, Let's Dress Up as Dinosaurs and Silly Animals march, these people, they don't really know what they're marching against. When you walk up to one of them and you say, the most prominent one that I can think of is John Cusack, and when they asked him, all he could do was talk in generalities. He couldn't come up with specific answers about President Trump's imperial moves, if you want to call him a king. And Trump himself has said he doesn't want to be king. If you look into it, you find out that, yeah, Trump's making some horrible decisions, and he may actually have some of these overturned by the courts. But that is the idea of the courts. That's the check and balances. And then I saw a meme that was calling out all of the people in Congress that have been in there for 50, 40, 30, 20 years, saying, well, here's your kings. Then there's another meme that came out, and it said, it's the governors of these states that are more like kings that are refusing to enforce federal law. Speaking specifically there about immigration law. Yeah, they're the ones that are ignoring the laws. All right, a little bit further into that, and these so-called states that protect the rights of illegal immigrants. Illegal aliens. Yesterday morning, my wife and I had a short discussion about the words illegal immigrants. And yeah, I'm not going to use that word anymore. They're illegal aliens. They are someone who crossed the border illegally, and they are here illegally, and they need not to be here illegally. They need to be gone. And that upsets a lot of my libertarian friends, but I don't care. They've broken the law. I know people. I'm married to an immigrant who worked very hard to become an American citizen. And the idea that she could just, not she, that the illegal aliens could just cross the border and be here just to knock down everything that our forefathers have built. It's a horrible situation. It's Tuesday. I had to think about what day it was. I do need some more coffee. It is Tuesday. I'm going to go out and take on Tuesday. I'm going to try and have a good Tuesday. I hope you go out and have a good Tuesday as well. I hope you find peace, love, and dream. Until next time, arrivederci. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Also, this coffee is simply delicious. This is some delicious coffee. I'm down to half a cup this morning. I think I made it up 3 steps before I took a big sip, and then I made another 4 steps, and I took a big sip. I got to the door here, and I took another big sip, and then I sat down at this desk, and by the time I actually cranked up the camera, started the camera, I had already drank half of my cup of coffee. And this is Ubora, Rwanda. I'm still absolutely infatuated with this coffee. It is delicious. Of all the coffees that I've tried in my life, this is the one that I think, if I could only take one coffee to a deserted island, it would be Ubora, Rwanda. Just an outstanding product. I gotta have some more coffee. I forgot what I was talking about because it's rambling with Joe and had a rough night and I'm drinking a lot of coffee. Well, I have rambled on enough. I guess this is Shutdown Showdown number 3. I'm going to go downstairs and get a warm up, try to wake up, get ready for work. Work is going good. I'm happy with my job. Things in general are going pretty good. I'm a very content individual for the most part. It is not difficult to become content. You work hard. You earn what you earn what pay you get. You don't try and screw people over, and I'm a very content. I'll be deleting all this. This is absolutely silly. Nobody wants to hear about how happy my life is. I don't think anybody wants to hear about my opinions on politics either. According to my stats, what people want to hear is me enjoying coffee. Maybe I should just come up here and drink my coffee. Just, good coffee.